We are now joined by a few guests here in the studio, and I'm going to have some fun with this one. We are joined by Marcus Ginyard, who many of you will recognize from his time with the North Carolina Tarheels, ACC All-Defensive Team selection, All-Tournament selection, national champion. Resume kind of writes itself. I also asked this gentleman to my left, Tommy McDonald, for his intro prior to this interview because I knew I was going to hype up Marcus. Tommy came with Virginia Division VI AAA state champion football player, friend of the station, weighing in at 236 pounds, left tackle, and I added 7th place finisher in our Dynasty Fantasy Football League. Tommy McDonald also joins us.
Yep, thank you.
And also a former teammate of our very own Dennis Cox at Shenandoah, so connections all over the place. But in actuality, they are also here as board members of Eastern North Carolina Make-A-Wish Foundation, which, Marcus, I'm going to start with this one. I know you care about the Make-A-Wish Foundation because on the day your Tar Heels are in the Sweet 16, you are willingly sitting next to someone with an NC State logo on their shirt, right. which means you care about Make-A-Wish.
That says it all, right?
There
that
it is.
Says it all. It's been difficult already to be in here next to Tom, but excited to serve on the board with Tom and excited to tell you all a little bit more about what we got going on.
And we're going to have plenty of time for that, but I have to start with some basketball questions.
Let's go.
Legendary defender for the Tar Heels. Tonight, everyone's expecting an up-and-down shootout. Alabama's offensive statistics through the roof.
Right. Defense
maybe not as noted. Is there a Carolina move to slow down Alabama in a way that can maybe take Sears off of 22 points a game and maybe make it more manageable, hard-fought 15 or something like that?
I think that when you get into this time of the year, obviously you're going to talk about Alabama and them leading the nation in scoring or whatever that stat was. But right now, this is when teams have to lock down defensively. You're through the first 2 rounds, which were difficult enough. Now you're starting to really get to the money time here, and defense is going to. Yes, you got to score points, but I personally believe myself that defense is really going to separate you. There's going to be times when things are tough to score. When you start playing against these tough teams in these tough moments, and I think that defense is always going to be a foundation for your team during this time. So I think there's definitely going to be a focus on not just Sears, but making it difficult for the entire team and continuing to rebound the way that Carolina does, and that fast break and pushing the ball all starts with their defense.
I've thought this might be a Seth Trimble game, who's a perimeter defender off the bench, but many and I consider him their best perimeter defender. As somebody that was leaned on for that role by the Tar Heels, for a game like this, do you almost get like, hey, you're not coming off the floor, you're our guy, you're going to lock him up? Like, is all of that established ahead of time, or is that a game plan specific?
No, it's game specific, and it's about who's performing in the game right now, right? Listen, I love Seth Trimble, but let's say, for example, Seth Trimble's in the game and he's not up to par the way he needs to defensively. That he's just not going to be predetermined to be in the game all game long, right? And so, I believe that he's going to show up. I believe the other guys are going to show up. Let's not forget about the other guys out there and how they defend. It's not a one-man show on defense or offense for that matter. And so everybody's got to step their game up. I love the way that R.J. Davis has defended throughout the last several months, and Cormac Ryan with his length, and Harrison Ingram. The whole team, right? Everybody's got to step their level up defensively. It's going to look like it's being led by guys like Seth Trimble who are picking up full court, and again, he gives us great energy defensively, but it's not just going to be about him. It's going to be about the whole team.
We're talking with Tommy McDonald and Marcus Ginyard from the Eastern North Carolina Make-A-Wish Foundation. Marcus, obviously a Tar Heel great. The average age for UNC, have you seen these memes going around?
I have not. Yes, the same as the Thunder,
Oklahoma
right?
City Thunder, exactly. So the starting lineups for the Thunder, who are second in the West in the NBA, in North Carolina, they both have a 25-year-old, they both have a 24-year-old, they both have a 23-year-old, they both have a 22-year-old, and then the only difference is UNC does start one freshman in Elliot Cadeau, who's 19, and the fifth starter for OKC is 21.
Okay. So
their average age in their starting lineup are 22.6 for the Thunder and 22.2 for UNC.
That's crazy.
Cormac Ryan being the 25-year-old. So we know what you were doing at 25. You were playing professionally, and you were chasing that dream. Tommy, as we introduced you as a state champ. What was the athletic body looking like at 25?
I was probably in peak physical condition at 25. I was brand new in the professional world. I think it was probably a technical recruiter back then,
There
trying
you
to
go.
find
There you go.
developers. Yeah. But definitely not a professional athlete by any stretch of the imagination.
Or a college athlete, right? Which is the crazy part is Cormac Ryan is still chasing a college national championship. What could that experience do? Like, you won a national championship, and I'm fairly confident there wasn't a 25 or 26-year-old in your locker room.
No, there
like,
wasn't.
how would that have changed things if you were, there's just life experience that comes with being that age.
For sure. And, just decision-making, experience, poise. There's a lot of different kind of intangibles that I think come with age. But ultimately, to your point, just that experience, having been around and just being able to stay calmer, I think, in some of those bigger moments where the lights are bright. But at the end of the day, we still have a quote-unquote lack of experience in a certain degree, right? Because only a couple of guys on our team have really been to this stage and beyond. So, everybody's going to be dealing with that a little bit, but I think it does help to have, some older guys on the team.
So you hinted at it, right? The way that a Cormac Ryan or a Harrison Ingram can be wildly experienced, but not having played at this level is because, 2 years ago they weren't on North Carolina. When they went to the final, they were Stanford and Notre Dame and all this. Does the transfer portal maybe negate some of that experience because it wasn't together? The guys you played with, you came in with, you played with them, you learned with them, you grew with them, and then you succeeded as upperclassmen together.
I think that there's definitely something to be said about that trajectory, being together and having experienced those ups and downs together and grown together. However, this is just a new realm of college athletics, and to be quite frank with you, it's I can only speak to it from my perspective. So I don't believe that it is the same or it's as advantageous to have guys that have had various experiences separately and then come together versus having experienced it all together. But I do think that ultimately it's a good thing that they're experienced and that they're older, and they found a way to come together this season in the time that they had together. And so, so far so good. I think it's shown, positive results.
That voice you hear is Marcus Ginyard, former North Carolina Tar Heel, ACC All-Defensive Team Selection, ACC Tournament Team Selection, National Champ. You play with some legends, the Hansboroughs, the Lawsons of the world. Armando Bacot, R.J. Davis, where are they fitting in the history of Tar Heel Nation? Some quick base layer for the listener. I'm sure you're aware. Bacot, the all-time leading rebounder in North Carolina history.
Yep.
R.J. Davis is now an ACC Player of the Year. He's an All-American. They have a lot of the accolades and been doing it for a while now. Where do they fit in?
First of all, we got to take a step back. I was very grateful and very lucky to play with some legends. You mentioned Hansborough and Lawson. We can't forget the Danny Greens of the world. We can't forget, in my personal opinion, the Bobby Frasers of the world. Can't forget the Wayne Ellingtons of the world. And listen, all the way down. But anyway,
I want to be clear. I was not an all-inclusive list.
For sure.
That was like an example of.
And even mine wasn't all-inclusive. But, I love
Brandon Wright. We could keep going. We could keep
so
going.
Far down the list. Shout out Deion Thompson as well. Anyway, these guys, R.J. Davis and Armando Bacot, are, they're the creme de la creme. They're at the top of the list for so many different things. And having been here and stayed here, I think that ultimately is kind of where it all shakes out for me, because there's a lot of great players, and now with the NIL and with the transfer portal guys going back and forth, to me, what makes me feel the best about those guys being great players is that they've been great players at Carolina for the entirety of their career, right? And so that to me is what really stands out. But to answer your question, they're at the top, no doubt.
Caleb Love, once a Tar Heel, always a Tar Heel? He's on Arizona right now playing Clemson tonight. If you win, North Carolina might be waiting.
Not if he's on the other side. If he's on the other side of us face to face in the game, no. That was a pretty big shot against Duke. It was a huge
That's all
shot.
I'm saying.
I still got it in my office, blown up huge in my office at home. I love that shot. I had never had anything bad against Caleb. Just didn't think it was a good fit for our program, and it showed. Right, he goes somewhere else, and we continue to succeed, and he succeeds. So I think that's a beautiful thing, and everybody's talking about that matchup. Everybody wants to see it. I'll be excited for it as well. But I certainly can't be on his side if we're looking at him across the court there.
Just a few more minutes, and I want to make sure we have plenty of time to let people know how to get involved with the Make-A-Wish. Which conference is the best conference in college basketball, and why is it the ACC? And why and why is no one giving it any of that love this year?
I think it's the ACC because of my man DJ Burns.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think there's anybody else out there that plays like he does.
You call him Big Baby, Escalade.
Yeah.
Is that archetype there? Is that what you're going with?
I don't know if that's a real nickname, but it's a nickname in our household, and my daughter even like points to when he's backing down somebody. Yeah, ACC. You got 4 or 5 teams left in the tournament. That's pretty.
5 made the tourney, 4 in the Sweet 16.
Exactly.
A couple other conferences had 8. They have 2.
Right. So, I just think that everybody's got to just continue to respect the ACC for not only its history, but the fact that we're continuing that tradition of putting great teams, into the tournament and successful teams into the tournament, successful players like DJ Burns and the likes.
Very diplomatic. I appreciate that.
I do like that kid, man. I really do. But yeah, we are a tough conference. Obviously, hats off to the Big 10s and Big 12s and whatever out there. But obviously, this shows, right? Like 4 teams in the Sweet 16, and they all have very legitimate shots to continue in March. So.
We have Tommy McDonald, Marcus Ginyard here in studio on the Drive with Tim Donnelly. Marcus, a former Tarheel, talking a little hoops, but now it's time to talk a little Make-A-Wish Foundation. You two are both involved, both board members, Eastern North Carolina, Make-A-Wish. What do you guys have going on? And I'm always looking for ways that we can kind of steer support. So where do you need the listeners to jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're relatively new to the board yourself.
I am. Yeah, just under a year.
Yeah, and I'm like a month in, so probably underqualified. But I will tell you, it has been such a blessing for me to get involved, and I'm sure you feel the same way. It's a great organization. It certainly wasn't something I was searching out, but it came to me, and I jumped at the opportunity. We just came off of an event last week down in Wilmington called the Wishmakers Gala. We raised $381,000 in one night. And part of that was really just they had a ticker up and they were just asking people who's going to give a wish. And $7,500 is the average wish to grant. And a lot of those wishes, as you would imagine, for these critically ill kids is going to Disney, right? Or going to Hawaii. So there's a lot that goes into that effort. So we have about 16 folks on staff that work right down the road here in North Hills. We'll actually be over there tonight for our board meeting.
Yep.
But we're fiduciaries, right, as board members. So we really just help bring this type of awareness to the table. But we have a backlog of 400 kids to grant wishes to. We only granted 187 wishes, I think, last year, 183. So we we talk about all the time. There's kind of a couple ways to give. There's cash, right? There's money. There's donations from the individual, from the corporation.
Cash rolls everything around me.
Yeah, cream.
Get the money. Dollar bills, y'all.
But there's also we call in trust giving, right? In kind, right? So like you could, if you're a construction company and you could build something, right? There's been a kid who wanted a man cave, right? So we help build those things out. So I would say what we're really here to ask for is for folks just to get engaged, right? And so you can go to or as I always do it, just go to Google and search Make-A-Wish Eastern North Carolina, and you can sign up and you could have a regular donation, right? $11 a month or $20 a month or whatever it is. Every single dollar goes to, and this is something I found out. We had our board retreat back in the beginning of March. It's a federated model, so we are a local non-for-profit, right? There's a corporate, right, Make-A-Wish, but everything is Eastern North Carolina. So that's 49 counties in North Carolina, and every dollar goes to these kids in the eastern part of the state. So, I'm out there trying to find good, opportunities for folks that I know in the corporate world to be corporate donors, right? We need those big donations to help drive those wishes for 400 kids. So.
And so I love that you did it the way that I always kind of advise, which is, what do I Google, right? Sometimes people are throwing out okay, I got to write down this phone number. I got to write down, it's Eastern North Carolina Make-A-Wish, and you Google, the site will be there, and it'll tell you how to get involved. These two guys are involved. They're doing a ton of work. We appreciate them for all they do and everyone involved in those programs. So please go ahead and Google it, Eastern North Carolina Make-A-Wish. And give what you can and how you can.